What is up, my dudes? It is finally time to talk about my top 10 favorite records of this year. I'm going records exclusively, studio albums exclusively, so no EPs, no compilations, no live albums, strictly studio albums. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so at number 10, I'm going to put Inhuman Condition with their debut record, Rat God. Formed by the ex-members of Massacre, namely Terry Butler. This debut quickly came out after the formation of this band, and I think similar to like Queensryche and Entombed, I was kind of wondering like, okay, who in the band is creating music that's just like making this band not that great? Because for me personally, Massacre only has one good album with From Beyond. That's just my opinion. And they keep putting out shit, and I'm just like, I don't know if I like this or not, and I don't. So when they kind of split, I was like, all right, who's the one that's kind of fucking this shit up? And I think with Inhuman Condition, they definitely showed that this particular members of the band are just really killing it. Lots of classic death metal. I compare this easily with From Beyond as being the best fucking project that Massacre has put out in years. It's amazing. It's got that classic death metal sound. It's got that amazing Massacre type of sound. And it's got tracks like Euphoriophobia, Tarantula, and the title track that just show that they can make a classic death metal record in this era and still fucking kill it and still create lots of classic tracks. So with that being said, I gotta put Inhuman Condition, Rat God, number 10, excellent record. I don't have much more to say about it other than it's fucking killer death metal, so let's keep moving. Okay, number 9. This was kind of a tough one. It was on the list and then it wasn't, but now it's time to finally say that number 9 is Violence Unimagined by Cannibal Corpse. So the death metal legends Cannibal Corpse return with this record since 2017's Red Before Black. If you guys watched my review on Violence Unimagined, it took me a couple listens to get into it, but I've just been coming back to that record all year. Songs like Over Torture, Inhuman Harvest, and Slowly Sawn have just been playing in my head nonstop. And then every time I listen to the record, I'm, super satisfied with how it came out. It's fucking brutal. It's fucking cool as shit. Eric Rutan fits in perfectly. I saw him fill in for Pat O'Brien live, and I think that he is an amazing producer, an amazing addition to this band. He's a great live guitarist for fill-in, and here he is as a great composer and as an amazing guitar player on this as well. So excellent record, Violence Unimagined. Really like it. It's a sick album. Nothing more I can say. I think death metal really, really showed up this year, and even the classic guys are really putting out great records still. So moving on. This one's on everybody's list, but I'm going to put it a little low, and that is Spectral Wound's Diabolical Thirst. I didn't hear about these guys before this year, but I kept seeing this record getting mentioned, and I saw was it Bad Metal Album Art reposted it, and I was like, okay, I gotta check it out, and especially with a song or a title like Diabolical Thirst, black metal kind of stuff, I was like, all right, I really like the gothic kind of stuff. So I was like, let's check it out. And the Canadian guys have really created a classic black metal sound that's really digestible, really enjoyable, while still, obviously being uniquely theirs, filled with lots of anger and torment that really harks back to like the classic second wave sound. And, with songs like Frigid and Spellbound, which is the huge standout track. A lot of people like that one. And, stuff like Imperial, Saison Noir, and Mausoleal Drift. They're just fucking killer tracks, man. They're intense, they're evil, they're fucking memorable as hell. Perfect blend of just darkness and, power. Just really enjoy this record. So, yeah, it's at number 8. Spectral Wound, Diabolical Thirst. All right, at number 7. This one might come as a bit of a shock to some people, but I'm putting Aeon, God Ends Here, on here. Same thing with like Over Torture. I just was like kept coming back to this record, and honestly, I think this is Aeon's. This is probably their second best album in my opinion. I think Aeon's Black is slightly better. But even still, man, like they're pretty neck and neck. Whatever Aeon was doing with Aeon's Black, they just continued it, and it's fucking awesome. I love it. It's absolutely amazing. Church of Horror, God Ends Here, the title track, Let the Torturing Begin, Just One Kill, Severed. I mean, these are just amazing songs. Fucking love them. I don't know how to put it, but it's a little generic, I suppose, to some people. But to me, it just really captures the mood and atmosphere that Aeon has always been trying to go for, and I think this album just executes it perfectly well. It's just really intense and brutal, and I can't get enough of it. So yeah, Aeon, God Ends Here, number 7. Number 6, and it may not look like it, but I'm actually wearing the shirt for this band, and that is Sanguzagabog with Tortured Whole. Yeah, Columbus, Ohio's own Sanguzagabog brings their sludgy, vile, and down-to death metal to the masses with their debut, Tortured Whole, with songs like Dick Fillet and Pornographic. The group's fucked up sound is nothing short of primal caveman fucking brutality, man. And it even has a Saint Anger trash can, and it works. There's like chugging, droning riffs and gargling gutturals. This band is an intense journey into the obscenely sluggish world of Sanguzagabog. The songs Menstrual Envy, Dragged by a Truck, and Dead as Shit are probably my favorites, and I come back to this album when I'm in the mood for sheer death metal slog. This record can easily be listened to with like Mortal Decay and Mortician, where it just has that really just fucking feral type of sound to it, and it's just so sluggy and like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just so brutal, and it's fucking great. Yeah, so Sanguzagabog, number 6. All right, back to some black metal. We're gonna go with the Russian band. I'm gonna try to pronounce this. Vozko with Ni Tesera Ni Boga. I'm so sorry if I fucked that up. But yeah, so this is a Russian band, and they kind of describe themselves as atmospheric or folk black metal. But that doesn't mean it doesn't slouch with the dark brutality of it. It's got a light, airy production sound. Somebody on their Bandcamp described it as like painful black metal next door, and I think that's the best way to describe it, because it sounds really thin, it sounds very airy, it sounds like it's kind of far away, but it still brings like this horrible sense of like melancholic dread and terror and like sadness that just totally washes over you. And the instrumentation is kind of odd. It's almost bittersweet, you know. It kind of gives you a bit of hope with a lot of bends and things like that, but it's just really hard to like describe this record, because it blends like really intense emotions and beautiful sounds and horrible sounds together beautifully. It's just like this perfect mix of everything, and it's just really cool. I think track 1, because you know it's like MGLA, where they just kind of do like each album has a different part, but I think part 1, 3, and 5 are probably my favorite. But yeah, excellent record. Definitely check it out. All right, we're going to do more black metal here with number 4, Order of Nosferatu-Necrotol. I hope I said that right. So, as a fan of the movie Nosferatu, both of them, the 1922 original and the Werner Herzog version with Klaus Kinski, big Nosferatu fan. So this band really is a Nosferatu band. Each song is about the movie, it's about the character, it's about the story. And you know, some bands like that can kind of be like really bad, you know, like they're just like totally focused on one thing, and it kind of is like, I don't know if this is like an homage or a worship, or you just don't have enough ideas. But I think like the once again with like the last one, the tortured kind of atmospheric, melancholic, draining atmosphere of the Nosferatu films is perfectly captured with this record. You know, even the tracks that they put in between actual songs, like what is it, Carrying Coffins and Endless Processions, Behold the Pale Lord, like even that is just so cool. And Rats and Pestilence Shall Conquer, As Light Withered My Skin, the title track, all of them feature like really just torturous black metal sound, you know, kind of something you would expect. And they have really strong keyboard presence that I think works really well. And yeah, as a fan of Nosferatu, as somebody that's into spooky, haunting, really kind of, I suppose, emotionally intense music, this is just fucking great, man. It's awesome. Moving on, we're in the top three now, all right? Top three. Top three. Top. With number three, we have Krypta, Echoes of the Soul. So, I kind of followed this band before they put out any records. They just kept seeing like videos on Instagram, and I was like, oh, what is this? This seems interesting, and never really heard anything from it until like a year later, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. And yeah, I mean, this is a Brazilian Dutch band from the ashes of Nervosa. Fernanda, the singer, kind of was like, I want to do an old school death metal project, and said, all right, I'm just gonna go and do it. And she did, and it's fucking great, man. I mean, a great lineup, great group of musicians, and like, I don't know, it's just like this band really reminds me of like Morbid Angel, Sepultura, Possessed, with a kind of a new kind of production, a new kind of sound to it. And with songs like Kali, Starvation, and From the Ashes, which is kind of like their big song. I mean, it's killer. It's really catchy, really intense, really brutal, and it really does capture that old school sound while still, definitely being Krypta's own thing. It's not like a rip off of all those bands. It's definitely its own thing, and it really shows its influences on its sleeve while still maintaining a level of creativity, uniqueness. So yeah, Krypta, Echoes of the Soul, really enjoy it. Once again, death metal's just killing it this year. Number two, okay, you can see this, is Frozen Soul with their debut Crypt of Ice. So yeah, these guys are from Texas, but all their songs, basically all their songs are about ice and fucking coldness and all this shit, and it's really cool. I mean, they create some really unique tracks, and yeah, I saw them live with Guzzica, and they fucking cool as hell. Really grimy, cold school death metal is what they call it, and that's the best way to describe it. I mean, Hand of Vengeance, Wraith of Death, and the immaculate Arctic Stranglehold. It shows that this band is taking the old school death metal sound and just like, carrying the torch, while still sticking to their guns. It's kind of slow, but it's grimy, it's heavy, it's so just fucking cool to listen to, man. Really catchy, and yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing other bands kind of have this kind of attitude towards metal with Frozen Soul, Krypta, and Guzzica. I hope someday those become household death metal names, and with a lot of debut records coming out this year that are just so sick, I'm really looking forward to seeing what other bands come to fruition. So yeah, it's really cool. All right, taking a break from black metal, from death metal, and we're gonna kind of go a weird route for my number one pick here, and that is Youth Code with King Yosef and their record Skeleton Key to the Door of Depression. All right, so I saw Youth Code open up for Chelsea Wolfe on her His Spun tour, and I liked them, but I wasn't in love with them, and it took a while. They did like a song with Health that I thought was really cool, but I was like, like, I really kind of want to see these guys create like their opus record. Like if they had an essential record, I think they would, I would appreciate their back catalog more. And I think this record is it. I mean, this has just got harsh industrial beats, bittersweet keyboards, intense performances from Sarah Taylor and King Yosef. I mean, they just blend this angst and this kind of, reflective attitude so well in this record that it's like, I feel like the Skeleton Key to the Door of Depression it couldn't be a better title. It's like all of this is like secondary emotion, like when you're done being hurt and you feel this anger and this rage inside of you, and you can't really understand like what happened. You're trying to piece everything together. That's what it's like, you know. And you know, Claw Crawl, the opener is fucking sick. You know, Looking Down is cool. The World Stage, I love all these tracks, but my favorite track is their single from this record, and that is Burner. I don't know what it is about this song, but I get the same feeling from this as I do from The Sentinel by Judas Priest, where I just am just like so like sucked into it. And there's just something about the way it's composed, the way that it sounds, that just takes me to a totally different place. And I think it's fucking phenomenal. It's just so good. And it's only 8 tracks, perfect length. Each song, there's a lot of time spent on it. Matt Pike from High on Fire and Sleep is on a track. And it's just so sick, man. It's just such a good record. I mean, if you're a fan of electronic music, industrial music, this is just sheer power, man. Just a lot of ferocity in this. And I know it's a bit different. You know, it's obviously not metal as most of these picks are. Actually, all of them except for this one. But it still, you know, really has a voice. It really is an enjoyable experience. And I think if you give it a chance, you'll really like it. It's solid production, insane performances, great catchy composition that just sticks with you. It's my number one pick for this year, man. I absolutely love this record. And, you know, once they put out physical versions again, I'll definitely be picking up a copy. So anyway, there you go. There you have it. There's my top 10 records of this year. Perhaps not the same as many others, even a little bit. But, I mean, these are the ones that I just come back to the most. I mean, I just love all these albums, and I think they're great. So, yeah, let me know what your top 10s are. What do you think of my choices? Are there any albums where you're like, oh, I'll have to check that out? Or you're like, I listened to it, it's not that great. Or, you know, maybe you're like, oh, shit, yeah, that is a good record. Anyway, I recommend and encourage you to listen to all these records and give them a shot, because they're all fucking great. There's lots of good music coming out. So, you know, don't always just go back to old reliables from the 80s and shit. I mean, there's lots of good stuff coming out. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay heavy, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Take care.